First and foremost, all praises go to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Mashiach, double honors to the apostles, elders, and Akim and Great Millstone, and peace and salutations to the elective Yasharallah throughout the four corners of the earth. This article by the Charlotte Observer goes into how secretive warfare training being staged in 21 North Carolina counties, Army says. I'm going to play this video. Just a heads up, you might want to turn down the audio because it might be a little too loud.
No ID? No, ma'am.
It goes on to say, known as Robin Sage training, the unconventional warfare exercises are like live-action role-playing in the extreme with hostile engagement between Special Forces students, volunteers, civilians, and soldiers out on Fort Bragg. It begins August 30th, 2019. A series of Special Forces military training exercises including gunfire with blanks is being staged across 21 North Carolina counties starting August 30th. And the Army is telling the public not to be alarmed at the suspicious-looking activity. It says, known as Robin Sage training, the unconventional warfare exercises can be likened to live-action role-playing in the extreme with hostile engagement playing out between Special Forces students, volunteer civilians, and soldiers out on Fort Bragg. It continues through September 12th, said a press release. Heavily populated counties like Wake, Cumberland, and Union counties are among training sites, according to the U.S. Army John F. Kennedy Special Warfare Center at Fort Bragg. It says the students will match wits with more seasoned soldiers who will act as a realistic opposing forces and guerrilla freedom fighters, officials said in a release. Here's a second video. And these are clear examples Esau's preparing for martial law. And they're telling the civilians not to be alarmed that this is normal, which is nothing but a lie. Esau's about to roll up on a lot of civilians and show his true colors. It says the Army conducts Robin Sage Special Forces exercise in North Carolina in 2018. Robin Sage is the military unconventional warfare exercises and the final test of over a year's worth of training for aspiring Special Forces soldiers. Advance notice has become a critical part of the program since one soldier was killed and another was wounded in 2002 by a Moore County deputy who mistook Robin Sage exercises for criminal activity. It says a similar Fort Bragg military exercise in 1997 created a panic in Charlotte when uptown residents were terrified by the sounds of 100 commandos attacking a warehouse. The urban warfare assault incorporated helicopters and simulated bombs and gunfire, the Charlotte Observer reported. The exercises starting next week will involve engagements against a fictitious country known as Pineland, officials said. Staging areas will be largely on private land in 10 of 21 counties, but the others may feel some impact, officials said. The 21 counties include Amelince, Anson, Cabarrus, Chatham, Cumberland, Davidson, Davie, Guilford, Harnett, Hope, Lee, Montgomery, Moore, Rudolph, Richmond, Robeson, Rowan, Scotland, Stanley, Union, and Wake counties, officials said. It says U.S. Army Special Forces Cap Arthur Graff at Wright sits as a leader of a guerrilla camp, berates him for being late during the Robin Sage training exercises in the Yonohari National Forest under the cover of darkness as they participate in the Robin Sage training exercises. The training exercise for Special Forces applicants is the largest of its kind in the world and puts the men in real-life scenarios dealing with problem solving, not just fighting. It says local law enforcement agencies and government officials have been alerted, a release said. Residents may hear blank gunfire and see occasional flares. Controls, and this is very similar to what happened in downtown LA a few months back, of how they were doing military exercises where they had military helicopters, they had troops, storming buildings, and a lot of people were caught off guard because they weren't expecting it. And going back to towards the beginning of the article on how back in 2002 there was a couple people were killed by a deputy because he mistook it for criminal activity because the population wasn't alerted. But when martial law, goes into full-on effect throughout the United States, it's going to catch a lot of people off guard. It says, it goes on to say, controls are in place to ensure there is no risk to persons or property, officials said. Residents with concerns should contact law enforcement officials, who will immediately contact exercise control officials. It says unconventional warfare tactics call for the students to wear civilian clothes, but the public will be able to identify them by a distinctive brown armband, officials said. Vehicles will be labeled too, along with training areas, a release noted. It says Robin Sage is the U.S. military's premier unconventional warfare exercises and the final test of over a year's worth of training for aspiring Special Forces soldiers, according to the press release. Candidates are placed in an environment of political instability characterized by armed conflict, forcing soldiers to analyze and solve problems to meet the challenges of this real-world training. Here's the third video. But when all of this actually goes into full effect with the grace and power of Yahweh by Shema Shai, the elect are going to have faith in Yahweh by Shema Shai no matter where they be, to where while the rest of the world puts their faith in their weapons, the elect are going to put their faith in Yahweh by Shema Shai. And this video is from back in March of a training exercise.
There goes one, right there. Dead quiet. There goes the second one, right there, going off. There goes the third one.
There you go.
Flashbangs. There goes the fourth one. Fourth helicopter just took off. Flashbang grenades. It looks like a fucking war zone here. This is shock and awe on Capitol Boulevard. This is unfreaking believable. This is unfreaking believable. If If I weren't watching this with my own eyes, I wouldn't believe it was happening. It sounds like the world's coming to an end. Here comes another helicopter. This one has lights.
And with that, I want to give all praises to Yahweh by Shem Shai, double honors to the apostles, elders, and Akim of Great Millstone, and peace and salutations to the elect of Yasharallah throughout the four corners of the earth. Shalom.